Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Riley here from SOG Football, just announcing the new podcast that I'm starting here with my Neanderthal brother called The Caveman Corner. Mitchell, you want to talk about why we started this podcast?
We're live. Thank you for having me on SOG Football. Riley's, you know him, you love him. Created SOG Football. You love him for his lists, his breaking news. Happy to
or
be
hate
on
me.
This, or hate him. Mostly hate him. Happy to be on this podcast with you today, Riley. The reason we made this is simple, right? The fans want more content. You love his Instagram page. You love, those lists. But we always want to interact more with the fans and talk a little bit more about football. We're out here debating football every single night regardless. So we thought, hey, our friends and family love what we do. Why not provide you guys more content in the way of, reviewing the games that happen over the weekend. We'll probably drop those either Monday or Tuesday, as well as, Thursday before the slate of games. We'll talk a little bit about the betting lines and what we think will happen in the coming week. We hope, not just to have the generic football talk as well. We hope to, provide you content in the way of humor and kind of try to make light of the game, right? Because football, at the end of the day, is just it's a game they play for fun, and happy to be here.
Yeah, and a big thing we're trying to do too is we're trying to have as much interaction as possible with you fans. So again, each Thursday we're going to be dropping an episode where it's the prediction for each game throughout the weekend. If you guys want, we have a FanDuel sponsorship where you're able to bet on FanDuel Sportsbook or DFS on the upcoming matchup. You could use our bets, you could win some money with our bets, or you could come with pitchforks after you lose with our bets and come and try and kill us.
You won't be coming with much pitchforks because you're only going to be winning with my bets. But at the end of the day, happy to be here. The format's not set in stone. We're kind of rolling it with it for week one. Maybe, week two, week three, we're going to refine and change things up a little bit. But I think for right now, we'll hop right into the season previews, talk a little bit about what we think about each team, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. And without further ado, this is the AFC and NFC predictions for each team throughout the season.
Whoa.
We'll be counting down the NFC predictions for each team along with the coins predictions. So for each team, we will talk about the fans' predictions and our predictions versus the coin. Anyways, Mitchell, you want to talk about why we started this podcast?
First off, happy to be here with Mr. SOG Football himself, Riley's. Thank you for having me on the show. Talking a little bit why we started this podcast. Well, we've been talking football. We've been debating football every single night in the dungeon, the basement, for the past 10 to 15 years. We have guys that come here. They try to join us. They can't hang. We figured, everyone, they're interested in talking football with the Caveman brothers. We figured why not start a platform, right? Let's let everyone know our thoughts. Let everyone know what we're thinking. The state of the NFL, where things lie. We'll talk a little bit about bets. We got a little bit of jokes. We got a little bit of banter. We're excited to be here. Myself, my name is Mitchell, as Riley mentioned. I've been a Falcons fan since 2004. You can imagine I've been tortured, I've been beaten, I've been battered, I've been bruised, but I sit here ready to talk football with you anyway. So anyways, having said that, I'll pass it back to Mr. SOG Football himself, and we'll get the ball rolling here.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Actually, I think this is the perfect time on this platform to come forward, come clean about something that I've been asked many times in my DMs and in my comments. Many people have wondered what my favorite team is, and over this past couple decades of being this fan of this team...
The Washington Red... No, that's not them.
You're a bigot. Anyways, this team, I mean, under a lot of scrutiny, and now we're kind of middle of the pack team. I am actually a New England Patriots fan. So I've been pleased to be winning all over these 2 decades. And
have you been a front runner your whole life? Have you been a front runner your whole life?
Front runner is in a Patriots fan my whole life?
Are you also a Yankees fan and a Lakers fan?
Yeah, I follow LeBron wherever he goes. I follow Tom Brady wherever he goes. That's how it is. Anyways, let's kick it off with the NFC North predictions. So starting off with the Green Bay Packers, their over-under is set at 10 wins. They're negative 160 to win the division. They're negative 275 to make the playoffs, plus 225 to miss the playoffs, and their Super Bowl odds are plus 1,400. So what do you have the Patriots going?
Well, Riley, I'm actually going to predict the Packers right now.
The Packers, yep.
Thank you very much. We're getting ready, we're getting rid of the jitters. The boys, it's like walking out for the first time in the field. You got to get rid of those jitters, and we'll be strong going on.
First time talking to a female.
I'll tell you what, Green Bay, football's all they got, right? The Packers, they live, they bleed it.
And cheese.
and she's mostly football. COVID was rough for these guys. I see the homeowners there. You know, the people they wanted fans in the stadium. Wasn't happening. Guess what? 2021 is a better year. We're moving on. I've got the Packers winning this division. I've got them finishing over their win total. Mortgage the house. 12 wins. They're going to win the division. They're going to win the NFC. This is their year. I'm a Packers guy this year.
See, I had them going 11 wins, so not the 12 wins. Actually, if you think they're getting 12, you should go the over-under. I'm going to flip the coin, see what the coin thinks. So tails will be over, heads will be under. On the keyboard, tails. So that's an over. I'll mark that right now.
The coin agrees with the Neanderthal brothers this time.
Smart coin. I have a feeling the coin will disagree sooner than later.
I think before we move on to any other team, I mean, this is Aaron Rodgers has said it. Davonte Adams has said it. This is the last dance, right? We don't know how long these guys are going to be in Green Bay. It's been a good run. I think obviously there's been a lot of scrutiny over them drafting Jordan Love. Kind of, AJ Dillon could be good, but did you really draft the guy to sign Aaron Jones long term? Aaron Jones long term. I just don't see, potentially the receiver help there that Aaron Rodgers leads. I do believe this is the last dance. Much like the Chicago Bulls, I do see them going all the way. Do I see them winning it all the way? Maybe we'll get into that later. I won't reveal my cards just yet. But excited to see Aaron Rodgers and potentially his last season there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the last dance comparison to a point, but I mean, how many Super Bowls do these guys have? I know it's harder to win it in the NFL, but I mean, you got to win it. I actually totally see both of them leaving the Packers after this year, so I mean, yeah, you're right. We'll see how they go.
Where do you see Aaron Rodgers going? Where do you see Davonte Adams going? Assuming they don't stay in Green Bay, I would assume betting odds to stay, but assuming they leave,
I actually don't see that. I think Aaron Rodgers might end up a Denver Bronco. I feel like that'd be the best fit. Davonte Adams, I have no clue.
Davonte Adams, I got going to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, I'm glad you didn't say Falcons. Anyways, moving on, let's go to the Minnesota Vikings with their over-under set at 9, division win plus 250, make playoffs plus 115, miss playoffs negative 138, and to Super Bowl odds are plus 4,000. So right now I actually have the Vikings spot on the over-under at 9 wins. And what do you have them?
Well, gone were the days of the Minneapolis sex boats. If you know, you know. If you know, you know. Bring back Randy Moss. But I do actually have them finishing above that 9-win total. I've got them sneaking into the playoffs as a 7 seed. Reason being, that defense is going to be really improved this year. They're bringing back Danielle Hunter. They've added Patrick Peterson. They've added some talent there on the back front. I think Mike Zimmer's a solid defensive coach. They were middle of the pack last year without that talent. I think they kind of move into maybe the top 5 to 10 range, maybe lower end of that 10. Kirk Cousins, as much as he refuses to get vaccinated, the guy knows how to throw touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, one of the better receiving cores in the league. Dalvin Cook, one of the better runners in the league. I think they're a very solid team, and I think they're a dark horse to make the playoffs this year.
See, I don't mind that at all. I mean, I wouldn't say dark horse considering they're only plus 115 to make the playoffs. I actually do agree with the call on the defense. I think they underperformed last year. But honest question, when it comes to Kirk Cousins, do you see him missing like 2 games this year because of COVID?
I would hope, tinfoil hat on, if the guy's not going to get vaccinated, he's smart enough to take the proper precautions. Obviously, that's not going to prevent it in all cases. But I don't think, Kellen Mond is vaccinated either. So if Kirk Cousins is gone, Kellen Mond's gone, are we looking at, a Denver Broncos 2020 situation where we have a practice squad wide receiver playing quarterback? I hope not. Hopefully Kurt is, smart enough, a little bit of I like that and getting them to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fault you for that. Let's see what the coin says. The coin has it heads, which is the under. I mean, there's the first change for me. I guess if I were to go, I would put over because I can't. If I'm 9 wins, I can't really call that. So I'll go over 2 because I could see them getting 10 wins instead of 8.
I don't know if I'm pounding that over, but I'm pressing it lightly.
I'm not pounding it whatsoever.
Don't mortgage your house on this one, folks.
Mortgage on the Packers though. And moving on, let's go to the Chicago Bears. They are over under is set at 7.5. Division win plus 550. Make playoffs plus 225. Missed playoffs, negative 275, and Super Bowl odds are set at 6,600. So when it comes to the Chicago Bears, I actually have them as the over. I have them 8-9 right now. I mean, ugly team to watch. They really just not fun. I love their defense. I think they know how to grease games like that. David Montgomery's solid running back. They're just going to ride that rushing attack. And I genuinely believe they put in Andy Dalton for that first week against the Los Angeles Rams to get shit stomped. And I think after that, I would not be shocked if they put in the rightful quarterback of that team second week, Justin Fields. You heard it here first. What do you think about the Bears?
I think I heard it there second because that's a pretty common take regarding my man.
Not week 2 though. Not week 2.
I'm beginning to think you looked at my cheat sheet because I also had the Bears going 8-9. I kind of want to change it now because I don't want to agree with this guy. But yeah, I mean, I see him going 8-9. I think their defense is not what it was in 2018. If they had a better quarterback, instead of Trubisky, then potentially that well, I mean, it comes down to the kick at the end of the game, and they missed that kick. However, I just don't think Dalton obviously isn't the guy. I don't know if they make the change as soon as week 2, and even if they do, I don't know if Fields is exactly pro ready right now. Obviously, he's got the arm talent, he's got the legs. Really throwing him to the wolves. It's a windy city, hard city to play in. I think Matt Nagy is hard to call him overrated now because everyone's on his ass, but I don't think he's quite as bright an offensive mind as people think. Too much of the dink and dunk BS. Maybe putting Big Dick Nick, lead him to the Super Bowl. But, yeah, I mean, I got this team 8-9. Got him missing the playoffs. Like you said, not the sexiest team. They've obviously got talent at receiver with Allen Robinson. Montgomery's a good runner. Darnell Mooney, dark horse this year if you're a fantasy guy. Really not much else to say about these guys.
Fair enough. Moving on, let's go to the Detroit Lions. Over-under set at 4.5. Oh, actually, I forgot to do the coin for the Bears. So 7.5 is the over-under. I'll flip it right now. We got tails, so over 7.5, which actually is an agreement with both of us. Okay, moving on. Detroit Lions, over-under set at 4.5. Division winner, plus 2,800. Make playoffs, plus 700. Miss playoffs, negative 1,100. And Super Bowl odds are plus 25,000. So you betting on that Super Bowl odds right there? I mean, $10 to win $2,500?
I'm betting on Dan Campbell being the absolute alpha of the year. That's what I'm betting on. Pound the over on that one.
Probably going to have the best inspirational speeches before the game. That's guaranteed. Might smash a watermelon or two.
He's no Mike McCarthy when it comes to smashing watermelons, but he's ready to bite her kneecap or two. He looks like the dude from The Big Lebowski. Nothing but respect for the former, tight end in the NFL, Dan Campbell. What an absolute weapon. Let's just get right to it. I mean, the Lions, they're not very good. They're not the most talented team. They're obviously going to have some picks in the future, given that Matt Stafford trade. They're going to ride Jared Goff out this year. He's obviously not in a desirable contract, given what the Rams had paid him. I don't think he's the guy. I think he was kind of carried by the system with McVay and by a healthy Todd Gurley before Dan Campbell bit his knees out. I think they've got some talent. I mean, the receiving core is pretty decrepit. You got Tyrell Williams over there. Hasn't done much in a few years. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's coming in as a rookie. Maybe he's a guy in the future. I do like DeAndre Swift. I think I like him more than you. That's an area we disagree. DeAndre Swift, he took touches from Nick Chubb, Sony Michel at Georgia. He's a true talent, dominated the SEC, came in last year as a rookie, didn't get the most touches. I don't know how much I love him, given they're going to be playing from behind all the time. But, again, this isn't the best team right now. I'm excited to hopefully see Dan Campbell prove people wrong. I love a nice gritty coach, but I don't think this is the year for them.
Well, yeah, they're a rebuilding team, and I do like DeAndre Swift as a talent. It's just, again, what you said, they're going to be playing from behind. They brought in Jamal Williams, too, who's going to be taking some of that pass-catching work. The real thing about the Detroit Lions, which makes them such a good rebuild candidate, is their offensive line. Not only talented, but young. I think that's going to be like the backbone of their team for the next 5 or whatever years.
I think we would be, we got to mention at some point TJ Hawkinson. First off, what a head of lettuce this guy grew over the offseason. He's looking He's looking like, a Canadian hockey player.
Well, that's the guy I trust most on, in terms of fantasy. You're shitting on Tyrell Williams, but I think he's a great sleeper in fantasy. I think he's probably going to lead the receivers in yards, probably not over Hawkinson, but
leading the Lions in receiving yards is like being Johnny Knoxville in The Ringer. I don't know if that's all respect, but I don't know if that's where you want to be in terms of the NFL.
You're spot on, especially when Jared Goff can't stretch the field whatsoever. Anyways, the coin flipping for the over-under. We got heads, which is under. Well, that concludes the NFC North. Let's move on to your NFC South. We'll start off with the obvious favorites, which is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Over-under set at 12 wins. Division winner, -200. Make playoffs, -1,500, miss playoffs, +475, and Super Bowl odds, +700. What are you going to say about the Bucs? There's the favorites for a reason. This division's pretty junk outside the Bucs. I have them actually at 14 wins right now with the clear over. If you're betting the house on Green Bay Packers, I'm betting the house on the Bucs. Unless they get injured, unless there's some crazy amount of injuries that happen to them, they're well-rounded. I can't think of a single position of weakness on this team.
Yeah, I got them as a wash at 12 wins. Reason being, obviously they're returning every single starter from last year. That's rare. I think that was a first. That's impressive. They're a good team. I think, like you said, if they stay healthy, they'll be stronger. However, there was a stat showing they had the best injury luck in the modern Super Bowl era, especially with a team as old as they are. You're looking at guys like Ndamukong Suh. You're looking at guys like Tom Brady. Can these guys stay healthy again? They do have young talent, don't get me wrong, but the key guys, they're really some of those guys, the nucleus of potentially what led them to the Super Bowl. They need those guys to stay healthy. It's a good team. That receiving core as a trio is probably the best in the league. Chris Godwin, fantastic receiver. He led the NFL in receiving yards 2 years ago. Mike Evans, fantastic receiver. Antonio Brown's apparently looking like he did 4 or 5 years ago. That's scary, right? They, in the backfield, it's not necessarily one guy to lead the way. They got Rojo. They got Leonard, sexy, Leonard Fournette, playoff Lenny. Apparently, Gio Bernard pulling his best Danny Woodhead in the backfield out there catching passes. It comes down to injuries. They're going to make the playoffs, no question about that. I don't know if I'd bank on them, reaching over 12 wins. NFL is tough to win game to game. But this is going to be a team that's it's going to be tough to beat and probably the favorites in the NFC.
So how many wins do you have them at?
I got them at 12 wins. It's a wash in terms of that over-under.
Fair.
Reason being, I don't know about the injuries, but they're a good team. We didn't even talk about their secondary. We didn't even talk about the strength of their linebackers. So it's going to be a tough team to beat.
Yep. I'm assuming 12 wins, then you have them losing the Falcons at least once.
I have them splitting with the Falcons, 1-1.
Of course you do. Let's flip with the coin. We got heads, so under 12 wins.
The coin might lose a little money on this one, fellas.
You never know, man. The coin it benefits from not actually watching football. So
the coin knows about the injury luck.
Pretty much. I will say you can't bank on injuries happening. So I'm going to assume their team is healthy, and if they are, they're a top 2 team. Like the roster is just stacked. Anyways, moving on to your Atlanta Falcons. Over under set at 7.5. Division winner +900. Make playoffs +225. Miss playoffs -275. And Super Bowl odds +8,000. So I actually have the Falcons going 7-10 for the under. What about you?
I'm gonna pause here for a moment. Let's pause. Let's do a little monologue. Every year I go in optimistic like any good fan, and I'm hoping for the best, and I'm prepared once again for the Atlanta Falcons, who I bet on the over every year, to crush my soul, which is why I bet on them winning 10 wins. And let me walk you through why. I got them splitting with everybody in the division, 1-1 with the Bucs, 1-1 with the Saints, 1-1 with the Panthers. They played the Bucs tough last year. We got our Falcons helmet here too, folks.
We got Matt Ryan dancing on top of that.
2016 MVP Matt Ryan. Show some respect. They played the Bucs tough last year. They led at half, I believe. They ended up losing both games by 3. They played the Chiefs tough. Really, the case is they had some poor coaching. They had a lot of injuries in the secondary. They really didn't sign anyone. They ended up trading Julio, but he missed most of last year.
And they lost some more than Julio.
Yeah, well, they added Kyle Pitts. They lost Julio.
Alex Mack doesn't matter?
Alex Mack matters. I mean, he wasn't what he was in the 2016 season, but, when you have a center like Alex Mack who knows how to call plays and check the O-line, that's definitely going to matter. That's going to be a question. Can they fix it up front? They got a couple first-round guys up there, Lindstrom. They got McGarry. I'm just completely blanking on our right tackle's name. Those guys need to pick it up and be better. Or this team, I mean, they're probably not going to win the 10 games, but as a loyal Falcons fan, I'm ready to be crushed again. I'm going to pound on that 10 wins.
So are you actually going to bet on it? You're going to go to the Vegas odds and bet on plus or over 7.5?
I'm going to absolutely bet on the Falcons winning more than 7 games.
You're going to have to prove
And then
that.
every game as I speak to you guys, you're going to hear my soul deteriorate one step by one step. But, I'm hoping, Arthur Smith carries that strong balance attack he took from the Titans and hoping he brings it to the Falcons. We had a Dean Pease as the defensive coordinator. He's turned around some teams. He's been the defensive coordinator at the Ravens, the Pats, turned around the Titans before they had a rough year last year. Hoping he can add some of that magic to the Falcons. I wouldn't bet the mortgage on it, but if you're a Falcons fan like me, we're going to ride and probably die.
Well, anything better than what they started at the beginning of last season. I will say not that they became a great defense, but they did turn around later in the season. I mean, you'd hope he'd be able to, bring the best out of his players.
If you're a Falcons fan, you're always ready for, a last-second Cowboys onside kick blunder. And
the worst
anyway, I think we had 2 games last year with a 99th percentile to win that we lost. If we're a Falcons fan, we've been through the worst, and we're hoping for the best.
All right, the coin tails, so it agrees with you on the over. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty optimistic with 7 and 10. I initially had them 6 and 10, and I changed that, but we'll see.
It's a cupcake schedule in the NFC South. That goes for all the teams. Whether or not they win those 50-50 games, that's going to decide which way they go here.
I'm actually really looking forward to this next one because I know you hate this team. The New Orleans Saints. So over-under set at 9 wins. Division win, plus 350. Missed playoffs, plus 110. Missed playoffs, negative 133. Make playoffs, plus 110. And Super Bowl odds, plus 4,000.
What do we have that over-under set at for the Saints?
9 wins. So I'm just going to... It's under for you, obviously.
Pound the under, folks.
The thing is, I actually have them at 8 wins, so I would agree in the under. I mean, I actually don't think Jameis Winston stepping in at quarterback is much of an upgrade from what noodle-arm Drew Brees was last season. I will say they lost a lot of pieces on defense. Michael Thomas being on the PUP hurts a lot. Like Marquez Callaway, there's only so much you could do. A lot of different pieces from last season. They have a great O-line. Obviously, they have Alvin Kamara. So, I mean, you're pretty much going to have to pray Alvin Kamara carries this offense.
I got you. But I get that Marquez Callaway had a breakout camp. Can you name a worse receiving core in the NFL than the Saints without Michael Thomas?
Without Michael Thomas, probably not. I mean, I still think
I can name a few. Think of a few in my head.
Patriots probably still bottom 5.
Patriots are up there.
I can't think of who else.
The Lions, maybe.
I would actually say the Lions would be probably the worst.
The point I'm trying to make is Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions throwing to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. I love Jameis squinting. I love the fact that he refused to wear glasses. He got his eye surgery. He's been corrected. He sees the light. I don't think anybody in the NFL has better offseason workouts than Jameis Winston. He finds a way to make me marvel every offseason, and I love the way the guy plays. Love the Brett Favre mentality. But can he minimize turnovers? He had all those interceptions with a great receiving core. What are you going to do with Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, and maybe Adam Troutman? Is he healthy?
Juwan Johnson, you heard the name here.
Juwan Johnson, I get it. Converted receiver. We want him to succeed. I just don't know if I believe in it. Sean Payton has obviously made the most of his talent during his Saints tenure.
Finally, you mentioned the name that's most important in this offense. You're talking about Jameis Winston, but he's joining an offense that's led by Sean Payton, who I would argue is a top 3 offensive mind in the entire NFL. So you would hope that he'd be able to minimize Jameis Winston's turnovers. I don't think he's gonna play the dump down role like Drew Brees did, but I think it's going to be much more calculated risk when it comes to stretching the field. I think Jameis Winston offers a lot more than Drew Brees could in that final season.
I just don't see. I get what you're saying. He's able to maximize talent, but he's had the talent there before. I don't see the talent there now. And that's not even mentioning, well, you already spoke about it. They lost some guys on defense. Quan Alexander tore his Achilles. He's coming back. Apparently will play. I know. How will he be? They've got some suspensions on the defensive line. They lost Janoris Jenkins. Marshawn Lattimore is potentially facing some charges. Will he even play all the games? We don't know.
So what do you have, Matt? How many wins?
I think the Saints are going to win 5 games.
You're an absolute madman.
I think the Saints are going to win 5 games.
Right, you should bet all the amount of money you have in the world on the Saints going under 9 wins. You have them.
Well, Riley, I'm looking forward to betting $2 then.
Yeah, okay. So we'll flip the coin. We got the Saints tails, so that's over. I mean, that's against both of us, so that's a chance for the coin to overcome our lead. Anyways, next up the Carolina Panthers. We got the over-ender set at 7.5. Division win plus 1,000. Make playoffs plus 240. Miss playoffs negative 300. And Super Bowl odds plus 8,000. So actually the same as the Falcons for both over-under and Super Bowl odds. I have them as a 6-win team. I don't think Sam Darnold was as bad as people think with the Jets, and he comes in with a much better receiving core. But I mean, Panthers O-line is still junk. Defense is still junk. I just can't see how they get 8+ wins. I love Christian McCaffrey. I think he's still the best dual threat running back in the NFL. But is that enough to overcompensate the faults that I just mentioned?
I think they got a young and improving defense. Maybe they sneak into the top 15 this year. I think their O-line is a little better than what you give them credit for. I'm seeing ghosts thinking about this prediction because I'm about to talk about my boy Sam Darnold, a.k.a. the youngest starting quarterback in the modern day NFL era. Would love to see this guy, make one of those Ryan Tannehill rebounds. Getting away from Adam Gase. The guy's too busy looking for ghosts up in the air and snorting God knows what. That guy couldn't call a play without Peyton Manning to save his life. I would like to see a rebound from Sam Darnold. Not sure if I see it coming. I think he actually has, a surprisingly good supporting cast. DJ Moore, first round pick. Guys look good in his first couple of years. Still very young. Robbie Anderson's completely rebounded. The Jets are regretting getting rid of him. He'd be a nice weapon for Zach Wilson right now. Terrace Marshall, second round pick. He's got size. He's got speed. Produced at LSU. Maybe he comes out and is productive. Christian McCaffrey, probably the best running back in the league. He could pass, he could catch, he could block. And, respect to the fact that he's one of the few white running backs left. Not many left in the NFL. Dying breed. Rex Burkhead.
Houston Texans, four-headed monster.
I got the Panthers, hitting the under here. Don't think they're really playoff bound. I do think they're an improving young team. I'm curious to see how Darnold does because, if he's able to show a semblance of life, maybe they roll with him. I think Joe Brady's a good, play caller, good head coach. Maybe if they don't and they get not that many wins, maybe they roll the quarterback and draft a guy and then they go from there.
So how many wins do you have them at?
I have them at 3. I'm looking back at
3
this.
3 wins for the Panthers? What?
I'm looking back at this and I'm kicking myself. I'm gonna take a large.
Did you just? I think.
Hey, I'm gonna take a long, hard look in the mirror tonight. I'm gonna come back strong tomorrow. I must have taken some of Adam Gase's stuff when I made these predictions. But you live and you learn.
Okay, question then. Pull it up. Do you have the Falcons beating them twice, or do you have them splitting the series?
I have them splitting the series.
All right, thank God. At least you have that. We'll flip the coin. We got tails, so over for the coin. This coin is on some Adam Gase stuff too.
To the Carolina Panthers fans, guys, I love you. Forgive me. There's always next year.
Yeah, who's a fucking Panthers fan?
Support for the Caveman Corner is brought to you today by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer. That's right, you heard it here first, the Lawnmower 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer only for you, our loyal fans at the Caveman Corner. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with this code. Type in SOG at manscaped.com. That code again is SOG at manscaped.com. We have the trimmer right here. We truly do use it. I know we're Caveman over at the Caveman Corner, But trust me, you do not want to be using a razor in the shower. This is 2021. Join in, get a Manscaped, use Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. Your non-razor bumps will thank you. Your girlfriend will thank you. Your family will thank you because nobody wants to see your hair down there. Use Manscaped. Type in code SOG at manscaped.com.
Seconding that, you pretty much just become a better man. I mean, I've seen all these promos for Manscaped across other platforms. I wasn't a believer until I got the patented ceramic blade. The technology works. I'm telling you, support SOG Football and the Caveman Corner by using code SOG. Use the right tools for the job. Thanks, guys. Moving on to part 2 of our NFC is the NFC East.
Better known as the NFC Beast.
Yeah, pretty slapdick division, if I do say so myself.
Honestly, I haven't seen a division this poor since the Guelph Griffins in the OUA.
Well, considering this is an American football podcast, that's going to land with absolutely nobody. So, starting off, we got the Dallas Cowboys set at a 9 over-under. Plus 150 to win the division, negative 138 to make the playoffs, plus 115 to miss the playoffs, and plus 3,000 to win the Super Bowl. When it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, I mean, might be the most injury-plagued team from last year. Their O-line was banged up. Dak Prescott obviously missed the whole season. They also added Keanu O'Neal, from the Atlanta Falcons. Moves the needle a bit on defense. I actually like the Dallas Cowboys, but only as exactly 9 wins. What do you have them?
I think Keanu O'Neal's going to play as many snaps in the NFL this year as SOG football. This guy's brittle. I like him. He plays hard. Let's be honest. He's injury prone. I have the Dallas Cowboys winning 10 games, just over the 9, so we'll hit the over on this one. Like you said, O-line coming back healthy. It's one of the stronger receiving corps in the NFL between CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. I mean, bringing Dak back, it means the world to that team. They need Dak. I think they made some good additions to the defense. They lost Gallimore on the defensive line. St. Pat's shout out. They'll need him back healthy. That D-line might struggle, but they got some talent up front on linebacker. Leighton Vander Esch needs to stay healthy. Jalen Smith maybe a bit more physical. Keanu O'Neal needs to stay healthy. They picked Parsons, who was really running around at camp. I don't know if you've watched any of that Hard Knocks this season. He's looked good, to say the least. His mom's also very loud in the stands, so shout out to Mika Parsons' mom for making a lot of noise. I like Diggs out there. I think he could be a decent corner.
Yeah, decent at best, though. I think
the secondary is the weakness.
Their linebacking core is pretty solid. Definitely the strength of their defense, and everywhere else just sucks. Again, especially with Gallimore gone.
I think D-line could struggle. They need guys to step up. Randy Gregory seems to never be healthy. They need him to step up. Secondary, they need Diggs to take a second-year leap. I think you're right. That's their weakness. Their offense should be as good as anyone theoretically. I do think that's the best team in the division as a whole. But the NFC Beast, as we call it, it's always a barn burner, and I'm sure a team will go, 7-10 and probably win that division.
I'm genuinely curious. Maybe I'll look it up after, but the odds of Mike McCarthy getting canned this season, because if they don't make the playoffs, I could totally see him just getting the axe.
Well, we're talking about smashing watermelons. I mean, the second Mike McCarthy decides, at any time Mike McCarthy's smashing that watermelon, I need a heads up from whoever's. I need an inside source with the Cowboys because I'm pounding them to win that game.
It's an IG Live moment. All right, we'll flip the coin for this one. We have heads, so under 9 wins. Okay, moving on, we have the Washington football team. Don't you dare say Redskins, you bigot.
We're going to have to cut that out. Cut that out, please.
So I have the Washington Redskins 8.5 over under.
Football team.
I did it. 8.5 over under, plus 200 division win, make playoffs plus 145, miss playoffs negative 175, and Super Bowl plus 4,000. A lot of people I hear are pretty high on the Washington football team, but I just don't buy it. When it comes to Ryan Fitzpatrick, this guy, anytime he's been the week 1 starter for a team, just finds ways to fall apart. He just is a turnover machine. There's one thing I can say, obviously the Washington football team defense is outstanding, and I love Riverboat Ron. You won't find a bigger Riverboat Ron fan than me. I have them set at 8 and 9, which is 0.5, so I have them as the under. What about you?
So clearly there's some sort of black magic, perhaps some Fitz magic going on with my rankings here, because for some reason they're listed as 8-8. That clearly makes no sense. Maybe I got them forfeiting a game due to COVID. We'll put them at 8-9 on the season. I have them just missing the playoffs. I like that defense a lot. That front seven is as good as anyone in the NFL. Some talent in the secondary. Like you said, Fitzpatrick, he's known for having a big season, then kind of imploding the next year when he gets a contract. He's new to the football team. Theoretically, he should be an improvement over what they had last year. We'll see how it pans out. I really like McLaurin. Gibson's kind of a one-year wonder for now. I know he was a rookie, converted receiver, looked good last year.
I mean, they have McKissick too, who's nice.
Yeah, McKissick's a good pass catcher. I don't think Gibson will live up to that Christian McCaffrey role he's being hyped up for. I do think he's good. I'm curious to see how they do this year. I do have them just missing the playoffs. I mean, could go any way.
I mean, if they're 8-8, that's the ultimate caveman take of all time. Missing a game, COVID, 8-8, that'd be pretty legendary crystal ball take right there.
Fire Dan Snyder.
All right, let's flip the coin for this. So 8.5 over under. We have them as the over on this one. The coin takes the over. Okay, moving on. New York Giants. 7 over under, plus 400 to win the division, plus 225 to make playoffs, negative 275 to miss playoffs, and plus 8,000 to win the Super Bowl. I actually have the Giants set at 6-11. I feel like this is one of those teams. When I look at the comments, I just see a bunch of people hyping up the Giants. I mean, I like Joe Judge, a disciple of Bill Belichick, but I think they built their team in all the wrong spots. I mean, they have a crazy receiving core now, adding Kenny Galladay, but just a shit O-line. Daniel Jones is shit. He's a turnover machine. A guy like that, you need a good O-line. I think he's probably going to lead the league in fumbles and interceptions again. Their defense is pretty solid, but again, like this is at best the middle of the pack team. What do you think?
What was the over-under on these guys?
Over-under was 7. I have them set at 6-11 right now.
Again, I think you got to stop looking at my rankings because I also had them at 6-11. I'm actually going to go the opposite route, though. I like Danny Dimes. He's had some big games.
You like him because you own him in fantasy.
Yeah, very few quarterbacks go and they put up 300 yards, 5 touchdowns as a rookie. Like you said, he's had a problem with turnovers, so he's got to find a way to stop throwing interception and more importantly, stop fumbling the football. As much as my guy Danny Dimes is an absolute ace running the football, nobody's as quick as I think he clocked in. This is a real stat as the fastest quarterback in the NFL last year. I don't know who was timing him, but respect to that guy. He's just got to stop turning the ball over. I wouldn't call his receiving core outstanding. I mean, Galladay's had a big year before. Tony's a first-round pick, but he really hasn't played much. You got Sterling Shepard. Who else?
I wouldn't say outstanding. It's just very deep. Kadarius Toney.
We're forgetting about Darius Slayton. Ooh.
Yeah, Darius Slayton. I mean, athletic beast, but just I don't know.
He is what he is. I mean, I think that defense is better than people give it credit, particularly in the front seven. I think if Daniel Jones even makes, I don't think a Josh Allen leap is realistic, but even somewhat towards that team could be a lot better than we're predicting them. But that's what it's going to come down to. He needs to make that leap, and is it going to be possible in a Jason Garrett-led offense? I don't know. I'm saying no. I hope my guy Danny Dimes does something. Otherwise, they might be drafting a quarterback next year.
I mean, it's worth saying I do love Saquon Barkley as a talent, but again, just put him behind that shit offensive line. How good can he do?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even mention Saquon Barkley. One of the better running backs. I'm curious to see how he comes back from that ACL. Others have done it before, Adrian Peterson, Jamal Charles. So we'll take a look at that.
All right, Coin's agreeing with me with the under. Moving on, the Philadelphia Eagles. Over-under set at 6.5. Plus 500 to win the division. Plus 225 to make playoffs. Negative 350 to miss playoffs. And plus 10,000 to win the Super Bowl. I actually have the Eagles set at 6-11. I think the range of outcomes for this team is pretty wide. It's a pretty old team, too. I mean, I just see them being an average team and then probably getting rid of some of their veteran assets by the end of the season and moving on to rebuilding. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is the answer to their future, but I do think he's actually a very viable fantasy quarterback in terms of his rushing upside. Their defense is pretty solid up front. Same with their offensive line, but I don't know, just doesn't really move the needle for me.
Strong O-line, strong D-line. They struggle in the secondary. I agree with you. Jalen Hurts,
hasn't really been committed to by that coaching staff. They didn't hand him the job to the end of training camp, which seems a little strange, right? It seems like they were shopping around for Deshaun Watson, looking, can we get him?
I wouldn't be shocked if they still bring in Deshaun Watson.
I don't know how many massage parlors they have in Philadelphia, but there might not be enough for Deshaun. I think that receiving core could go either way. Davonte Smith was obviously the Heisman Trophy winner, was the best receiver in college football last year, but he weighs 160 pounds. I think, there's high school receivers in Ottawa bigger than him. Then you look at a guy like Jalen Reagor, again, first-round draft capital, but he did nothing last year. So they need these two first-round receivers to actually do something. If they do, that O-line's again solid. Miles Sanders hasn't really lived up to his standards, but potentially he could. I do have them finishing one game above 6 wins, so I guess I'm hitting the over on this one.
You're hitting the over.
I do have them missing the playoffs, however.
All right. Let's see what the coin says. Coin is agreeing with me. Under. All right. Final division, the NFC West. We'll start off with the Los Angeles Rams. Over-under set at 10.5. Plus 190 to win the division. Negative 182 to make playoffs, plus 150 to miss playoffs, and plus 1,200 to win the Super Bowl. I actually love the Rams this year. We talked about it a bit earlier. I think Sean McVay was masking how horrible Jared Goff was all these years. Matthew Stafford is just a massive improvement. I actually saw a stat where I think it was last season, the Los Angeles Rams were dead last in deep ball attempts or deep ball percentage. So Matthew Stafford obviously is a big improvement of that. All Jared Goff could do is kind of that short to intermediate stuff. They lost Cam Akers, but I'd say that Darrell Henderson will do just fine. Brought in Sony Michel, and obviously their defense is still stout. They lost their safety, John Johnson, but Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald, those are two superstars who are going to get the job done. I still see them being a top 5 defense, and with Matthew Stafford, you can only see their offense getting better.
Do you think they'll be able to protect the quarterback with that O-line?
I don't think their O-line's bad. I think they're probably, the top 15 O-line at worst. Why do you think they're bad?
I think they're an average O-line. I think they could do the job. But I like the Rams. What was the over-under on these guys?
10.5. And I actually have them at 12 wins, so I'm above that. So
yeah,
I'm
I'll hit the over on that as well. I think the Rams are a surefire playoff team, and I think they're in a do or die mode, right? They went all in with that Matt Stafford trade. They traded future firsts. They're the rare team that said, hey, we're going to pay our superstars and kind of say fuck the depth. So I'm curious to see how this experiment pays out. I like McVay. I think they have probably better top-end talent than anyone in the NFL, but they do lack some depth. So I'm curious to watch this experiment unfold. I'm excited to see Stafford with a loaded offensive cast, a great offensive mind. Robert Woods, great receiver. Cooper Kupp, great receiver. Really a guy that's been doubted his whole career. And then you got Tyler Higbee, who had a great end to 2019. Kind of didn't do much last year. So excited to see Stafford there. Do see him making the playoffs.
See Van Jefferson making a little bit of a leap too.
Yeah. Van Jefferson's pretty solid. They also brought in Deshaun Jackson, Tutu Atwell, so a couple speedsters, and I think they'll definitely be making an effort to throw the ball deep more often. That's why they bring those guys in there.
And just to be clear, you'll discover this as I go on with the projections, but this is the best division in all football, I think. Maybe the AFC North, I would say, but this to me is the best division in football.
I would say it's between 3 divisions. The NFC West probably being the front runner. I also like the AFC West and the AFC North, as you mentioned.
I could see the AFC West, but I will get to it. But Raiders suck. Anyways, moving on.
Team John Gruden.
We'll flip the coin for the over/under. We have under for the Rams by the coin. So under 10.5. Coin's got a lot of unders here, so we'll see how that goes. All right, next up, the San Francisco 49ers, also set at 10.5 over/under, plus 180 to win the division, negative 200 to make playoffs, plus 165 to miss playoffs. For some reason, I don't have the Super Bowl odds, but I'm assuming they're plus 1,200, just like the Rams. When it comes to the 49ers, I think it's similar to what I said about the Bears. I think it's only a matter of time before Trey Lance becomes the starter. Kyle Shanahan just also great offensive mind. He'll find a way with no matter who's at running back to get the job done. They have great receivers, Debo, Brendan Ayuk, Their defense, of course, they got Nick Bosa, just Fred Warner. They're just stacked everywhere. I would say that same thing as Rams. I have them 12-5.
Yeah, I've got the Niners, winning 11 games, making the playoffs, of course. They were in the Super Bowl 2 years
Do you have Rams 11 wins too?
Did I say Rams?
No, I'm saying do you have the Rams as well?
Yeah, I've got them both at 11 wins. So, I've got the Niners making the playoffs. Like you said, it's a stout team all around. They were in the Super Bowl a few years ago. Last year, just devastated by injuries. They're going to be bringing a few guys back. I think Nick Bosa, as much as he loves Donald Trump and some of those weird stuff, he's a great player, right? I think this team's going to be really solid. The question is, can Kyle Shanahan win the big one?
Well, as long as he doesn't do what he did against the Patriots.
He was up twice in the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl and hasn't prevailed yet. So
28-3, shut up. We got coin with the under for the 49ers. Next up, the Seattle Seahawks. The over-under set at 10. To win the division, plus 275. To make playoffs, negative 133. To miss playoffs, plus 110. And Super Bowl, plus 2,500. When it comes to the Seahawks, their defense did play a lot better when it came late last season, but at the beginning they couldn't stop anything. They kind of went away from the let Russ cook movement, which I think should be the move because Russell Wilson is clearly the strength of this team. They just need to let him do his thing. Coaching woes aside, you just gotta let him cook. And you got Tyler Lockett. I think DK Metcalf will likely emerge as a premier receiver if people don't already regard him as such. And I love Chris Carson. If he can stay healthy, he's a phenomenal running back, but he just can't stay healthy. And if not, Rashad Penny could be all right. When it comes to their O-line, horrible protecting the passer, but you see the rushing attack there. It's always solid. I think I have the Seahawks as 10 wins, so right on the dot. So if I were to guess, though, I'd say over. I would guess they'd hit 11 before 9. What about you?
I've actually got, Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, leading the Seattle Seahawks to a 13-4 record. And
you have the number one in the division.
I have them as the number one seed in the NFC going into the playoffs. I love Russ Wilson. I love that offense. I love what he can do. I think that defense will turn it around, somewhat this year, and that's really all they're going to need. Whether or not they actually progress far in the playoffs, I think that's a different story, but I do think they're a solid regular season team.
Pete Carroll, he's done pretty well in the playoffs. Again, it all comes down to Russell Wilson. I think 13 is a little bullish.
Unlimited.
So if we're talking about bets to make, then you should bet on the Seahawks. You have them 13 wins. Maybe you stole that from the 3 wins you gave to the Panthers. You bum.
I don't think the Seahawks play the Panthers 3 times this year.
I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. Coin under again. Pretty wild for the coin.
The coin would not be a fun guy to bet with. We all bet overs over here.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when it comes to Vegas, betting under is probably the move in most situations. Next up, we got Cardinals. Over-under set at 8.5. To win the division, plus 650. To make playoffs, plus 165. To miss playoffs, negative 200. To win the Super Bowl, plus 3,500. This is where it gets interesting. When I did my projections, I wasn't expecting it as such. I guess with the new playoffs, this is easier to happen, but I believe this would be the first time in NFL history if it does happen. But I have every single team in the NFC West making the playoffs. I have the Cardinals at 9-8 and sneaking in the wild card.
And we need to get our stat guy on this.
I am the stat guy, but we absolutely need to get the stat guy. When it comes to the Cardinals,
Jamie, pull that up.
I think the Cardinals are a great team. They added J.J. Watt, which I think makes up for the Patrick Peterson loss. I think he's better this late in his career. I think they have the not-so-luxury of being in the toughest division in the entire NFL, which is why they'll get 9 wins. But, again, just a solid team all around. This is also a weird situation. If it is a bad year, could totally see a canning of their head coach. Again, just 9-8. I think they'll squeak by into the playoffs. If not, it'll be the Vikings or Washington football team, maybe even the Bears.
I think Cliff Kingsbury's got to stop worrying about being the next Derek Zoolander and start worrying about coaching this football team.
I mean, you can make the same argument about Sean McVay.
But yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, I got them going 8-9, missing the playoffs. I think they're a very solid team. They're in a tough division. I think a lot of other divisions they'd probably make it. I don't think J.J. Watt and A.J. Green pushed the needle the way they expected. I think they probably overpaid a little bit for these vets. Having said that, they got Chandler Jones, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. Buda Baker, great safety. They've got obviously a ton of talent on offense. Kyler Murray's a stud. Receiving core, Christian Kirk hasn't really been that guy yet. Can he, potentially become something? DeAndre Hopkins still one of the best in the league.
Does Rondale Moore not move the needle for you?
I like Rondale Moore as a vertical threat, and I think he landed in the perfect situation. So that is one where I'm kind of curious to see how that played out. I know it didn't work out with Andy Isabella. Maybe Moore becomes that guy. Don't love the running backs. I don't think Chase Edmonds can be a bell cow. That's kind of why they brought in James Conner. Curious to see how that works out there. Really not sure how that's going to pan out between those guys.
I think that was the perfect time to bring up. When it comes to white receivers, you just got to embrace your role as a great route runner. I don't like these over-the-top speed white wide receivers. Embrace your role. Be a hard worker. Quick steps. What are you doing, Andy, as well?
I don't think he's bringing his lunch pail to work enough. Otherwise, he'd be starting.
Must be.
He's not a coach's son.
All right, flipping the coin. We got heads, another under. So that is, we got, maybe I'll pull my stack after this. 10 unders for the coin.
So we're looking at, 10 unders, 6 overs?
Yep.
All right.
I mean, the coin literally went under on every team in the NFC West, so maybe he knows something we don't. Because when we're talking NFC South, he went 3 overs, with the Bucs being the only under. I mean, this coin could be on some legendary prediction shit right now.
The coin maybe knows about Mike McCarthy smashing the watermelons before we do.
Well, that concludes the NFC show. We'll be coming back with the AFC show. Again, appreciate everyone for listening to our first podcast. If you could, smash the like button, comment. I actually am planning on giving a jersey away to one lucky commenter, so pretty much say anything. You can even shit talk us. I appreciate any and all comments. Again, thanks for listening, and have a good day.
I thought we were going to do are we paused? It doesn't matter.
All right, now starting the AFC predictions. Kicking it off, we got the AFC North with the Cleveland Browns. Over-under set at 10.5. Division win set at plus 110. To make the playoffs, negative 250. To miss the playoffs, plus 200. And to win the Super Bowl, plus 1,600. Will you fucking relax those papers, man?
I'm just shuffling them here. I'm trying to get my stuff in order.
Jesus Christ. Anyways, I have the Browns set at 11-6. I actually think not a slept-on team anymore. Very well-rounded team. Their defense is phenomenal. Their O-line is phenomenal. Their rushing, I can't think of a single weakness. Maybe Baker Mayfield, if that's your weakness, they're doing pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think Baker Mayfield, maybe he's not necessarily the number one pick you expected, but he's surrounded by such a solid system and such a good playing staff that you really kind of mask any of that weakness.
Yeah, they've been stockpiling first-round picks for the past 5 years, and I mean, this is the result. Same with, I guess, the Washington team. This is what happens when you stockpile on picks. I got to give credit to the Browns. They did the rebuild right. No longer are they the laughing stock of the NFL.
Trust the process. But yeah, I mean, I got the Browns hitting. I'm going to hit the over on the Browns. I got them winning 12 games. I've got them making the playoffs, of course. I think, Miles.
You have them as the division winner?
Yeah, I do have them winning the division, actually. I think Myles Garrett's probably the premier pass rusher in the NFL. A couple of the guys obviously in contention, Aaron Donald, T.J. Watt, but I think Myles Garrett's as good as it gets. Just keep him away from from Mason Rudolph, and we should be fine. Nick Chubb, obviously one of the better backs in the league. Kareem Hunt, great guy to mix in there. Strong receiving core. Odell coming back from injury. I think that defense is absolutely loaded. They added John Johnson in free agency, who's going to add.
That was a massive signing.
I think that's Jeremiah Owusu-Karamoah in the second round. Jock.
That was a pretty damn impressive job at pronouncing that name.
Big J journalism over here. I think Jock, he's a little bit undersized coming out, but he kind of plays that Keanu Neal tweener role. He's going to come downhill, bang people. This is going to be a strong team. I think they're going to be a force in the AFC and definitely
a competitor to make it to the Super Bowl.
You're almost convincing me to put my wins up to 12 wins. But sticking with 11 wins.
This guy's a copycat.
Nah, I mean, you raised some good points. And again, I love that John Johnson signing. I think that's huge. I think he's a top safety in the NFL. All right, back to the overs. Over sets. So that's all 3 overs for us. Moving on, Baltimore Ravens. 11 over-under, plus 155 to win the division, negative 310 to make playoffs, plus 240 to miss playoffs, and plus 1,400 to win the Super Bowl. I actually have them set dead on...
Breaking news. The Baltimore Ravens signed Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really do much to me, but... Well, who's their guy? Tyson Williams? Or
Buddy, we're looking at Gus,
it's going to be the Gus Edwards show. I can actually see Le'Veon, I mean, at best, just being a pest to Gus Edwards. He's not going to get any of the goal line work, but he'll step in for pass catching goals somewhat.
I think I kind of said the Le'Veon Bell thing jokingly. I think Gus Edwards, he's average over 5 yards a carry. He just got re-signed. They like Gus. I think if Justice Hill didn't get injured, they'd roll with him all year. I like Gus a lot this year. Lamar Jackson, obviously former MVP. I think they tried to surround him with a lot more talent this year. Unfortunately, Rashad Bateman's going to miss a few games. Sammy Watkins hasn't really been healthy in a while, but he was a solid piece in Kansas City. I actually have Tylan Wallace, their rookie receiver, making a decent impact to start the year, at least until Bateman gets back. And then on defense, they're absolutely loaded. Marlon Humphrey in the secondary. You got Peters in the secondary. They got Calais Campbell. Just a loaded defense. These guys are going to make noise. I don't know if they're going to win the AFC, but they're going to fight for it.
Fair enough. What do you have in that?
I got them a wash at 11.
Okay, well, if I were to guess, I'd put them over. I'm assuming you do the same. Now check out the coin. Coin back to his underways. It makes me second guess myself. Next up, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. 8.5 over under, plus 500 to win the division, plus 170 to make playoffs, negative 210 to miss playoffs, and plus 4,000 to win the Super Bowl. I mean, as much as I'm down on the Steelers this year, plus 4,000 to win the Super Bowl is pretty damn intriguing odds for a team that, I mean, definitely has their weaknesses, but I mean, they how many times have you seen the Pittsburgh Steelers win in the past 20 years? I actually have them as a 9-8 team. When it comes to their offense, Ben Roethlisberger, I mean, he went from his old ways of being able to be Big Ben, breaking tackles and extending plays, to pretty much just completely relying on the short game. But I think a lot of that has to do with how shit their O-line has become. This is not the regular Pittsburgh Steelers of old school. Like, they can't protect the passer. They need to do that short game. They have 3 great receivers, but again, just what are you going to do without an O-line? On defense, of course, we know the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. That's going to be the strength of their team. They'll probably end up doing a lot of that dinky short game and a lot of running with Najee Harris and riding on the back of their defense. What do you think?
I think Ben's surrounded by just a loaded offensive cast. I think Ben Roethlisberger is kind of hilarious for how he lets you know he's injured and puts on the arm sling in the ice, the second he gets off the field. He's obviously not the Ben Roethlisberger of old that was, breaking tackles, running by everyone. He's gained a little bit of weight. I think.
You don't know the Big Ben diet? It was a big case that was made this offseason.
I've heard about the Big Ben diet, not quite the the TB12 diet. What are we going to call it? The BR? I don't know. But yeah, I mean,
it's midway through Eddie Lacy and Tom Brady. It's kind of the in between of both.
Yeah, sure. As long as he doesn't come out looking like. Kelvin Benjamin, I mean, they got a chance. I think the major question right now at the Steelers is TJ Watt not slated to play week 1 right now. That's the team MVP, one of the best pass rushers in the league. Can they get that contract sorted out? They need to, because they went and they lost one of their best pass rushers, Brett Dupree, in the offseason, right? So they got to sort that out. If they do, they got a solid defense between him and Cam Hayward and a few other guys. Curious to see how Najee Harris does. They're talking, a good game about getting back to the run game.
You're a Najee Harris hater.
I'm not a Najee Harris hater. I think he's a bit of an older prospect. I think he was productive at Alabama, but a lot of Alabama backs are productive. I do think he could be potentially a solid back in the NFL. I just think, are we sure he's not, a Josh Jacobs coming out of Alabama who ended up with the Raiders, and he's solid, but he's not the top guy we expected. He's not a first-round pick kind of talent. Defensive player of the year for that team will be Minkah Fitzpatrick. He's been a stud since coming over for the Dolphins, and they paid for him.
I would guess TJ Watt, but fair enough. A question for you. So they're at Buffalo week 1. So you're pretty much chalking that up as a loss automatically.
I do have them losing week 1 to the Buffalo Bills because nobody circles the wagon like the Buffalo Bills.
I mean, if Buffalo loses, I'll throw myself through the table. Tails, so we have over for the Steelers.
You have it here first, folks. If Buffalo loses week 1, we're putting SLG football through this table.
This table right here, too.
That won't be easy. Sorry, did the coin hit the under or the over here?
Hit the over. So you had them how many wins?
I got the Steelers at 8 wins, so I've got them finishing under.
All right.
Actually, 8, so that'd be a wash, right? Because the over.
No, 8.5. 8.5 over under.
We're calling it under.
All right, next up, Cincinnati Bengals. Over under 6.5. Division win plus 2,500. Make playoffs plus 450. Miss playoffs negative 650. To win the Super Bowl 12,000 plus 12,500.
I'll start on these guys. I got them finishing under, and I actually kind of like what they're doing with that team.
How many wins?
I got them finishing with 3 wins. I know that seems...
What? How do you go on these positive rants? Meanwhile, you're 3.5 less than the Vegas total.
Let me tell you, I think I did this with the Panthers too. Bengals, Panthers fans, don't hate me. I like your teams. I think you're building.
He's pandering.
You're just not quite there. I think that's one of the weakest O-lines in the NFL. I love Jamar Chase as a prospect, and reuniting him with his LSU teammate Joe Burrow was a great idea. But will they be able to protect him? They signed, free agent Riley Reif, but he's really not that great. He's a bit of a turnstile at tackle. One of the better receiving cores. I've said that about a few teams, but T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, that's, on paper, that could be a pretty solid trio of receivers. Who do they really have at tight end on this team? Can you name their tight end?
Wait, they still have C.J. Uzomah?
I think it might be Uzomah. Not great, a little slow. I guess. They brought in Trey Hendrickson to rush the passer. He had, I believe, he did have double-digit sacks last year. I think it was 12 and a half. But, could Trey Hendrickson only be a one-year wonder? He had one productive season with the Saints after not doing anything for a few years. They do have one of the better safeties in the NFL, and Jesse Bates. But other than that, that's a pretty...
One of the better? Someone argues the best?
Yeah, I know. It's a fair argument. I just think that's a pretty bare defense other than those guys. I think, a bad defense and, a questionable O-line is not a good recipe for success. And Joe Mixon, he's got all the talent in the world, but he's put it together for maybe one season out of 4, so I'd like to see him really turn it around. I think the big thing here is I'm not sure Joe Burrow is back fully healthy. He kind of showed that in the preseason. If he was, I would definitely be hitting over that 3 wins. It's also a strong division. It's a very strong division.
It is a strong division, I'll give you that. I actually have them at under, but I'm 6 wins. I think 3 wins is... you're a hater. Bengals fans, come with pitchforks, break this guy's fucking window down, and take him out. Next up, the AFC South, the Indianapolis Colts. So over/under set at 9, division win set at plus 150 to make playoffs negative 110, to miss playoffs negative 110, and to win the Super Bowl plus 4,000. I actually have the Colts dead on that. I have them at 9 wins. This is one of those ones I've been flip-flopping in between whether the Colts or Titans are going to win this division. Spoiler alert. When it comes to the Colts, just Carson Wentz being injured to start the season, Quentin Nelson being injured to start the season, kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I actually think Colts were one of the most hated teams leading up to this. I think, again, plus 4,000 to win the Super Bowl is actually pretty intriguing. I think I'm higher on Carson Wentz than most. I think their defense is pretty solid, pretty well-rounded team, but, I have them as 98. What about you?
So I actually do have them finishing over that 9 wins. I have them finishing with 11. The thing I'm worried about with the Colts is, like you said, Quentin Nelson injured to start the year. Carson Wentz injured to start the year. I don't know if you've seen the first 7 games that those Colts play, but it's a murderer's row of game. They start the season in Seattle. Pretty much you're going to chalk that up as a loss, right?
I don't know.
They play the Rams next. After the Rams, they go and play the Titans. After the Titans, they play the Dolphins. After the Dolphins, they play the Ravens. That's a tough way to start the year. The Texans finally in week 6 is really the only guaranteed win out of those 6. So what is the health of Carson Wentz? Because I think that will be what determines this team. I can't rely on Sam Ehlinger as good as he was at Texas, or on I believe the other guy is Jacob Eason out of Washington. Those guys can't be trusted to win you games, and they didn't sign a vet to back them up. So if Carson Wentz isn't fully healthy, then my 11 wins is going to make me look really stupid because they're going to be way under.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's worth saying that they do have a very good backfield. Nyheim Hines to back up Jonathan Taylor as a pass catcher, and even Marlon Mack coming back. Like, that's a solid, stout running back who ran for 1,000 yards before getting injured.
Yeah, and it's one of the better O-lines in the NFL.
Arguably the best.
They signed Eric Fisher in the offseason to shore up a line that was already as good as it gets.
But I mean, Eric Fisher has
they're stacked on defense. Darius Leonard's a monster. Kenny Moore's an absolute stud at corner, under-recognized. Yep. Drafted Pay in the first round to rush the passer out of Penn State. Really, I question, again, the health of Wentz. How is Wentz' health? And can we trust this receiving core? T.Y. Hilton's injured. He's not going to start the season. Do we trust those young pass catchers over there?
It's going to be tough. It's worth mentioning that to win the division plus 150, I mean, that's intriguing for you, right? Like, you should think about that.
I mean, at those odds, technically, that should be a number I think about.
Well, looking at the team, I'm assuming below, we got the Titans next with 9 over-under, and then negative 115 to win the division, negative 160 to make playoffs, plus 130 to miss playoffs, and plus 3,000 to win the Super Bowl.
I've got the Titans going over. I've got them at 11 wins. I do think their offense actually might regress a little bit from last year in terms of efficiency.
You have both the Colts and the Titans 11 wins.
I do. I think they might regress a little bit in terms of efficiency. That was one of the most efficient offenses in the league. Arthur Smith was one of the most highly heralded offensive coordinators. But, I mean, adding a talent in Julio Jones, who's, potentially a top 10 wide receiver of all time, that's going to be huge for Tannehill. I think the approach they're going to take this year, they've given Derrick Henry so many carries. I think he was over 400 last year. He might have been over 400 the year before. At what point does he break down? I know he's only 27. I think they go a little bit less run-heavy this year, and I think they rely a little bit more on Tannehill airing it out to those stud receivers, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. The defense has to turn it around. They can't be as bad as last year because they were really bad last year. That's why they signed Bud Dupree of the Steelers. But the question with him is he going to come back well from that injury? Kevin Byard's one of the better safeties in the NFL. They drafted Caleb Fairley. I think he's going to be a pretty strong corner. I like this team. I have them at 11 wins. The question is, while they got a lot of star power on offense, I don't think they're a full enough team to make noise in the playoffs.
I would actually agree with that. And I do think because of that defense was kind of like you said, that's the reason they're going to pass more. I actually forgot to do the Colts, so I'll do Colts right now, then Titans for this. So under for the Colts. The coin. Oh, man.
Does the coin know something that we don't?
Titans over. All right. Now we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over under set at 6.5. Division win plus 650. To make the playoffs plus 330. To miss the playoffs negative 440. And to win the Super Bowl plus 10,000. I mean, when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars, obviously Trevor Lawrence, arguably the most highly touted quarterback prospect of all time. The question is, will he be protected enough? It's tough. I think we've kind of been spoiled with like a Justin Herbert from last season, where people expect that to be the norm when it's a quarterback. It's not the norm, and I mean, you've seen all of these legendary quarterbacks struggle in the rookie season. You kind of have to give them some leeway, and I think that's going to be the case with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have them at 4 wins, so 2.5 under the over-under. I just don't think their defense is good enough. I don't think their O-line is good enough. And I think this is a rebuilding team. I think Trevor Lawrence marks a bright future for this team. They got a solid receiving core, but it's not a team that's going to really do anything this year. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, they don't have the defense they had a few years ago when they made some noise, made it to the AFC Championship. I like Trevor Lawrence, like you said, best quarterback prospect since either Luck or Manning, depending on who you talk to. I think he's got a sneaky, solid receiving core around him. I think Laviska Shenault has made a lot of noise at camp. DJ Chark had a really good year a few years ago, but it seems like he's kind of a Urban Meyer's bad books over there. I don't know what he did. Maybe he didn't accept the Urban Meyer's pay-for-play money in college. Marvin Jones signed over there. Solid receiver. He's been productive. They signed Shaquille Griffin to make some noise in the secondary. I do agree with you that their defense is still...
That doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen was a really, really productive pass rusher. Solid as a rookie, maybe not so good last year. So they're going to need him to turn it around, and they're going to need Tyson Campbell, their rookie corner, to do something. I think it sucks that you go and draft a Travis Etienne, who was electric in college with Lawrence, gets injured. James Robinson, don't get me wrong, very solid running back. I don't think he's as versatile. He's not the pass catcher that Etienne is. So I think that hurts him. I do have him finishing under that 6.5.
Yep. All right. Let's see what the coin thinks. The coin going over 6.5 for the Jaguars. Interesting. All right, next up we have the Houston Texans. Over-under set at 4 wins. To win the division, plus 3,000. To make the playoffs, plus 710. To miss the playoffs, negative 1,200. And to win the Super Bowl, plus 30,000.
Well, the Texans are so forgettable. I was already flipping my page over here, but since we're talking about them, I'll put it back. I mean, I definitely have them finishing under. I think this is, it's not the hottest take to say this is one of the more underwhelming teams in the NFL right now. I think you might like them a little bit more than I do. I think they got one of the better left tackles in the NFL in Laramie Tunsil. I think they gave up too much for him, though.
Gave up too much, then paid him too much.
Yeah, it's tough to pay a left tackle that when I mean, who's he protecting? Tyrod Taylor. I mean, Brandon Cooks is solid when healthy. He's obviously had some concussion problems, which is unfortunate. Justin Reed's their best defensive player. He's solid, but I mean, is he really making that much noise? I think the foundation for this team is kind of in shambles, right? They didn't have a first-round pick this year. I don't think they even had a second-round pick.
It's got to be a full rebuild.
They went and drafted Davis Mills. He'll probably get in the season halfway through, and we'll see how he does. Probably not the answer. So what they've got to do is either figure out what's going on with Deshaun Watson and hopefully play and build around him, or the more likely scenario is they're going to end up trading him to whatever city has the most massage parlors, and whatever team will pay the most amount of picks. They drafted Nico Collins. I think he's a good young receiver. I just don't think he's in a situation to succeed right now. So, yeah, I mean, I've got him finishing under that 4 wins. I've got him finishing with 1 win. I think this is, on paper, one of the least attractive rosters I've seen in quite some time.
All thanks to the legendary Bill O'Brien, who's probably pleasuring himself to the thought of the Texans just in shambles because of him.
I think he's coaching with Alabama right now, and they killed Miami over the weekend.
Unexpected. Got tails, so over.
Coin, I think you fucked up on this one.
All right. Next up, the AFC East. So we'll start off with the defending champions of this division, the Buffalo Bills. Over-under set at 11. Division to win the division, negative 160. To make the playoffs, negative 410. And to miss the playoffs, plus 300. And to win the Super Bowl, plus 1,100. I mean, when it comes to the Bills, another team, just a stacked roster. On paper, some could argue this is the best team in the NFL. Their over-under is set at 11. I have them at 13-4. I think they're that good. I love Josh Allen, the progress he's made. Might not move the needle for you. I think Emmanuel Sanders is a great signing. He's been playing like the wide receiver too in camp in the offseason. I mean, their defense, maybe their weakness. Obviously, Tre'Davious White is phenomenal. Their secondary in general is great. What do you think?
I'm actually going to go ahead and disagree. I think the Buffalo Bills made the changes necessary in the offseason to shore up that defense. They went and they drafted Greg Rousseau and Basham, and those are just 2 absolute stud pass rushers. And the thing is, that D-line is so stacked that these guys are going to be rotational pieces. So they'll be moving in like every now and then rather than being full-time guys like they would for most teams in the NFL. I think that pass rush is going to be absolutely stout. I think they're good in the secondary, right? They got some strong safeties.
Arguably the best safety duo in the league. Not individually, but together, they're amazing.
Yeah, Tre'Davious White, wasn't as great as he was in previous years last year, but he's proven that he can be a top corner in the NFL. I like the Emmanuel Sanders signing. I think John Brown is a great, vertical threat, but Emmanuel Sanders is a guy that's proven he can run some great routes, almost in the mold of that Cole Beasley over there, who, assuming he doesn't contract COVID, will be able to play for the season. Josh Allen, he went and he gave a big fuck you to every NFL analyst and really turned it around in a way that nobody expected he could. And I saw him, hurdle Anthony Barr back in 2018 or 2019, and I've been a fan since. If you're a 6'5" quarterback hurdling over 6'5" linebackers, it's you gain my respect, sir. So, yeah, I got this team finishing over. I think they're my Super Bowl favorite coming out of the AFC.
Interesting. So, how many wins you have?
I got them at 13 as well. Again, I think you got to stop looking at my sheet because this does not make for good podcasting.
All right, well, flipping the coin. The legendary coin goes under for the Bills. And this is, I think, when we'll start disagreeing because we're going with my favorite team, the New England Patriots. Over-under set at 9.5 to win the division, plus 350 to make playoffs, plus 126 to miss playoffs, negative 154, and to win the Super Bowl, plus 3,500. I mean, again, maybe a homer alert on this one.
Homer alert, Homer alert, Homer alert.
I try and speak as objectively as possible when it comes to this. I think the Patriots, while Mac Jones obviously is someone who I don't think is going to be a top quarterback in the NFL, they have a top offensive line. Receivers aren't great, but they have Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, who just were added to this tight end core. I think it's going to be a heavy run team, what the Patriots do best, because their defense is so good. Dante Hightower opted out because of COVID. They added Matt Judon. They Stephon Gilmore, I think, starts in the PUP, but they still have, just talent. J.C. Jackson, and obviously Devin McCourty. I think the Patriots are going to be a 10-7 team, and they're going to squeak into the playoffs. It's by a hair, right? This is a tough conference when it comes to the wild cards in my projections. What do you think about the Patriots?
I think the moment I saw Mac Jones strut up that draft with his suit, kind of the triumphant walk like this, I think it was the Conor McGregor moment in the NFL we've all been waiting for. I love Mac Jones. I think people, he was projected to go third, and I've never seen a prospect get dumped on like that in quite some time. I think they got a steal at 15. Having said that, don't think this is the year for them. I think the defense is going to make the turnaround, and Bill Belichick is known for his defenses. Don't know if Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, and Nelson Aguilar are the guys who push the needle on offense. I can't fall in love with an offense that is, led by Jacoby Myers and Nelson Aguilar.
Me neither. I genuinely believe Jacoby Myers will lead the team in receiving yards, and I don't think Mac Jones will need to do too much. It's going to be a heavy run attack. It's going to be a heavy dose of Damian Harris, and Ramondre Stevenson is actually going to get a good amount of work too. I'm actually pretty high on James White too. I think with Cam Newton gone, that James White will actually kind of go back to his role of getting those dump-off passes, which Cam Newton seemed incapable of fucking throwing under 5 yards.
What did Cam Newton do to you?
He couldn't even read a playbook. He had Mac Jones teaching him how to run the New England Patriots playbook.
But we'll just say this is hearsay.
Absolutely a rumor, but I don't.
We don't know if this is true.
I buy it.
I don't think we're too far off here. I've got them finishing with one less win than you. I got them at 9 wins, slightly missing the playoffs. I think this team's moving in the right direction. I think Mac Jones will get them there. I just don't think this is quite their year yet.
Well, you're fucking wrong. Coin, what do you think? See, if the coin agrees with me, you're an idiot. Next up, Miami Dolphins, over-under set at 9.5. To win the division, plus 350. To make playoffs, plus 118. To miss the playoffs, negative 144. And to win the Super Bowl, plus 3,500. I actually, again, homer alert, but I think the Dolphins are a little overrated. I have them as an 8-9 team. I think their defense is pretty solid. I think Tua also gets a bad rap. Again, it's not the norm for a rookie quarterback to come out and be this dominant player like Justin Herbert did. I think he'll slightly have a bounce back, but I still don't believe in him fully. They armed him with some speed on the receiver, but again, I just think it's a pretty solid team all around. I think it's doesn't really wow me besides maybe Xavier Howard on defense. And again, just an 8-9 team for me. What do you think?
I think they overachieved a bit last year. I got them.
Absolutely.
I got under 9.5.
I do love Brian Flores too.
Got him finishing with 6 wins. Like Brian Flores. Of course you like him. He's a Pats product.
Of course.
I haven't seen it from Tua yet. I don't know what it was last year. It wasn't clicking. I know he's just coming off that injury in college, devastating. People didn't know if he was ever going to play again. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick had them moving in the right direction, and I do think it was a mistake to bench him the way they did. However, Tua is surrounded by weapons, right? You draft a guy, you go and get Jalen Waddle in the top 10 pick. He was a stud at Alabama. Another guy coming off an injury. You also got Will Fuller. You got Devontae Parker coming out of injury. You got Gesicki. Not the best blocking tight end, but the guy's proven you can catch the football. I do think they overachieved on defense last year. I think they were a top 5 defense or something like that. I don't think they have the talent to be top 5 again. They lost Van Noy to the Pats. Xavier Howard's obviously a stud. Byron Jones has been really good.
I think Byron Jones is a little overrated, to be honest.
I think he's solid. I do think this team overachieved last year. I do have him missing the playoffs, however.
Well, we'll see if the coin agrees. So wait, how many wins do you have them at?
6 wins.
6 wins. Oh, I thought I was hating on them. The coin actually has them over 9.5 wins. I do not.
If Dan Marino was out there whipping passes and sniffing cocaine like the 80s, maybe more than that. But
all right, next up, the lowly New York Jets. Over/under set at 6 wins. To win the division plus 2,500, to make the playoffs plus 490, to miss the playoffs negative 700, and to win the Super Bowl plus 12,500. I have the Jets as a 3-14 team. Again, another team I actually like the direction they're going. When it comes to a rebuild team, I think having a solid young offensive line is the way to go. They did just that. They brought in the head coach that is going to move them in the right direction. I think they know what's going to happen this year, where it's kind of a wash year, and they're probably looking at 2022, that being their season. I think Zach Wilson, being drafted, I've never seen someone being drafted number 2 quarterback and then pretty much get overshadowed by 3 of the quarterbacks picked after him. I think he does not get enough respect. I think he might be the answer to this team down the line. And when it comes to defense, that's also one of their weaknesses. I think their defense is going to be junk. Zach Wilson is going to have to try to do too much as a rookie quarterback. And 3-14. What do you think?
The only thing that Zach Wilson has done wrong so far is that weird draft moment when he looked a little scared, shaking hands with the draftees around him.
He's from the suburban neighborhood.
A very strange guy. I know, I think he's a practicing Mormon, so I can imagine, maybe he wasn't getting many of those moments at BYU.
If that was the white old ladies around him, he definitely would have become more comfortable there.
Yeah, so that sounds about right. But I do actually have them finishing over the 6 wins. Got them finishing at 7, and I'll tell you why.
Interesting.
I think that the building blocks of this team are as strong as anybody in the NFL.
So you have them over the Miami Dolphins?
Yes, I do. I think Mekhi Becton is one of the better left tackles in the NFL, and he's only entering his second year. I think Quinnen Williams over at defensive line and the defensive tackle, he's an absolute stud, powerhouse, and again, really young. I think Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore might have been my favorite 1-2 punch draft combo. Listen to the way you hear A.J. Brown, Odell Beckham, Chad Johnson talk about Elijah Moore. This guy averaged the most yards per game out of anybody in the SEC last year at Ole Miss. He's going to be really good, and the fact that they got him in the early second to pair with Zach Wilson, I think it was a bit of a shock to that team, but I'm sure it's one that they're going to be happy with. I think Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore are going to make some noise this year. I don't think they're a full enough team yet. That is why I do have them still missing on the playoffs. The other reason being they signed Carl Lawson in the offseason to help with that pass rush. The guy tears his Achilles. They're not quite there yet. Corey Davis was a solid signing. He finally kind of lived up to that top 5 draft pick status last year in Tennessee. I think he's going to be another solid piece for Zach Wilson. I think you need to surround him maybe with a little bit more still. He doesn't really have that stud running back. They got Ty Johnson starting right now. Again, doesn't really have a star tight end. So curious to see what they do there in the future. But the future is bright with this team. Have them finishing above that 6 wins for sure. Just don't think this is the year.
So you're telling me you don't believe in Tyler Kroft?
Is Tyler Kroft the tight end in the New York Jets right now?
They got rid of Chris Herndon. Going with Tyler. Anyways, we got over again.
I'm more of a Laura Croft guy.
It's a little creepy, but moving on. We got the AFC West, starting off with the Kansas City Chiefs. Over/under set at 12.5. To win the division, negative 250. To make the playoffs, negative 1,200. To miss the playoffs, plus 680. And to win the Super Bowl, plus 450. So they are the odds-on favorites to win the Super Bowl by a wide margin.
Yeah, I'll start with them. It doesn't take a genius to figure out I got the Chiefs over 12.5 wins. I think they did exactly what they needed to. So what was their problem in the Super Bowl?
Defending Patrick Mahomes.
So what do? They go out and they draft Creed Humphrey. They go out and they draft Trey Smith. They go out and they sign Joe Thuney for $16 million a year. They go out and they trade for Orlando Brown. They give up a first-round pick to get him from the Ravens. They've really shored up that O-line.
They're bringing players out of retirement.
I don't think I've ever seen a team do what Kansas City did this offseason in terms of really making sure we're going to protect our guy. We have one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, maybe the best in Patrick Mahomes. We're going to make sure nobody's touching him. And then you look at the weapons around him. He's got Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. They need McCole Hardman to step as the number 2. And then on defense, not as solid. But if they get ahead, they got a solid enough pass rush, and they got a guy like the Honey Badger who's going to be out there making plays.
Well, yeah, I think that's the whole thing. When Patrick Mahomes is as good as he is as long as you get that lead and you force teams to not be able to run out the clock on them, they have a good enough pass rush to just maintain it and make plays. I pretty much agree with every sentiment. I love what they did with the offensive line. I have them at 14 wins on the season. You have them 14 as well?
13.
13? Okay. See what the coin has to say? I mean, God damn it.
Call it as it lies.
Call it as it lies?
Happy Gilmore rules.
I mean, we got heads, so under. Next up, Los Angeles Chargers. Over-under set at 9.5 to win the division, plus 450 to make playoffs, plus 126 to miss the playoffs, negative 154 to win the Super Bowl, plus 3,000. I actually love the Chargers. I mean, we just talked about this fitting for the theme. They went out and got Corey Linsley as their new center. I mean, I think that's what you need to do with young quarterbacks. Protect them, get a good offensive line to protect them, and let them do their thing. They have Derwin James. I mean, who knows if he's going to be able to stay healthy. Joey Bosa.
Derwin James, quietly, maybe the best safety in the NFL. I know he missed all of last year. It's a bit of an understatement.
How are you going to absolutely dump on Keanu O'Neal and then talk up Derwin James?
Derwin James missed one season. Keanu O'Neal's missed many.
Yeah, fair point. See, I have the Chargers at 10 wins on the season, and I think I have them making the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think you got to stop looking at my shit. It's like you know, when you're taking an exam and your buddy's looking over your shoulder and he's got the answers to the test for me. So I got the Chargers at 11 wins, like what they did with, like you said, Linsley. They drafted Rashawn Slater in the top 15. That guy is an absolute stud at tackle. I think on defense they're good enough. Joey Bosa is still very, very solid. Great pass rusher. Great at setting the edge. I think Derwin James maybe is the best safety in the NFL, and I know that's saying a lot because he didn't play last year. I like Justin Herbert at quarterback. I think I was a little shocked by what he did last year as a rookie. I think everyone was. Yeah, I think everyone was. Keenan Allen is maybe the best route runner in the NFL. It's a conversation between him, Devontae Adams, and maybe Steph Diggs. Other than that, I mean, Mike Williams, he's had some on years. I think he had over 1,000 yards or over 10 touchdowns a few years ago and really didn't do it last year. So let's see if Mike Williams can actually step up and be that number 2 guy this year.
Well, I own him in fantasy, so let's hope indeed. Flipping the coin. Heads, we got another under for the AFC West.
It's also just great that team got rid of Anthony Lynn. I think that guy made some boneheaded decisions last year.
I think Anthony Lynn's who's the defensive coordinator now for?
He's offensive coordinating. Yeah, he's moved around. I can't recall which team he went to, but
okay. Denver Broncos over under set at 8.5 to win the division, plus 600 to make the playoffs, plus 156 to miss the playoffs, negative 190, and to win the Super Bowl, plus 3,500. I actually have them as under. I have them 8 and 9. I think the Denver Broncos are extremely well rounded. Like, you look at all of their positions, pretty stout at every position, and then you look at their quarterbacks. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock do absolutely nothing for me. I think that's going to be the weakness of the team. It's tough for a team with no quarterbacks, no matter how good the cast around them, to succeed. What do you think?
I think this is probably one of my surprise teams of the year. I love the Denver Broncos. I think this is the closest thing to the scenario when Peyton Manning walked in there and was the final piece. So I think they are still missing that final piece, but I'm going to pound the over on that 8.5.
You just compare Peyton Manning to who?
No, I'm saying I think that's the one piece they're missing this year from being a Super Bowl contender. I think other than that, this is just an absolutely loaded roster. I got them finishing with 10 wins. I think they're going to make some noise. I don't think Teddy Bridgewater's the guy to put him over the edge. I think if they were to get an Aaron Rodgers next year, this is a team that I think would be the Super Bowl favorite.
If they had Aaron Rodgers this year, I don't know about Super Bowl favorite, but yeah.
I think they're loaded. I think you look on the defense, you got Justin Simmons and Bradley Chubb. These guys are absolute studs. They go and sign Ronald Darby and Kyle Fuller to shore up the cornerback position. They got Von Miller returning from injury. He's again in that conversation for best pass rusher. He's just got to stay healthy. On offense, they go and draft Javonte Williams, who's one of the better running back prospects. And then you look at the receiver position. I know none of these guys have. Well, Courtland Sutton has proven he could do it at the top level, but Jerry Jeudy's, he looks solid. Noah Fant is one of the better, prototypical tight ends in terms of a young guy that could do something in the NFL. I think they're pretty solid. Teddy Bridgewater is, the one piece that scares me, right? Between him and Drew Lock, you really don't have that guy who's going to push your team to the next level. So Teddy's what he's going to do and what they expect him to do is go out there, play safe football, don't turn the ball over, make those plays when you need to make those plays. I don't think it's enough to carry him to the Super Bowl, but I think it's enough to bring him to the playoffs, and I think they can.
Fair point.
They're a team that nobody will want to play because they're going to have an absolutely fierce defense.
Fair point. I mean, that's probably why they went with Teddy instead of Drew Lock, because he's the more safe. Like he can do all the dinky stuff and pretty much just not turn over the ball and let the defense do the rest of the work.
I think worse quarterbacks have won this than Teddy Bridgewater have won the Super Bowl, and I'm not saying these guys will do it, but I think if that defense really comes out and does what I expect them to do, they're going to make some noise.
Well, I mean, Peyton Manning, when he won the Super Bowl with the Broncos, was pretty goddamn awful. I mean, Brock Osweiler was outplaying him.
I wouldn't say Brock Osweiler was outplaying him, but he definitely had his worst postseason that year. It made up for the times he was great and they didn't win it.
Yeah, facts. And another under. We got the Broncos under, so that's 3 unders for the AFC West.
Now time to talk about my favorite team, the Las Vegas Raiders.
All right, over-under set at 7. To win the division, plus 2,200. To make the playoffs, plus 350. To miss the playoffs, negative 480. And to win the Super Bowl, plus 7,000. So, I mean, you're pretty excited about the Raiders, so maybe I'll let you start this off.
No, I mean, I actually do have them finishing slightly under at a 6.
You copied me.
I think the fact that, you got the ghost of Al Davis going out there and drafting Henry Ruggs was truly...
that's sickening.
Truly one of the modern miracles. Al Davis, as much as we make fun of drafting fast guys, really one of the pioneers of the NFL. So, good on him for doing what he wanted to towards the latter part of his life. I think Darren Waller's,
Love him.
Amazing, one of the better tight ends in the NFL. This is what scares me about this team. I think Josh Jacobs maybe proved last year that he wasn't the stud they expected him to be. They go and sign a Kenyon Drake to take some of his snaps. Well, pay him $6.5 million a year, and you're not paying a guy $6.5 million a year to ride the pine all the time. They go and they had to cut some guys in the O-line to cut some costs. They still have Colton Miller. They go and draft Alex Leatherwood, so maybe the O-line won't be that bad. I just don't think, Derek Carr is to me the definition of average, right? He hasn't gone and been a stud. And Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards, I know they let Aguilar walk. They haven't proven they could be those guys. They've got the draft capital, first and a third on pick, but they haven't proven to me that they could be those guys. And we haven't even spoken about the defense, which was probably one of the worst in the league. Is Yannick Ngakoue going to turn that around by himself? Probably not. Max Crosby is a stud, though. I'll give him that.
Yannick is actually it's a solid pick, but there's just too many holes for him to fill. I agree with everything you said. I've gotten a lot of hate for my apparent hate for Josh Jacobs. I think he's a solid kind of in between the tackles runner. He runs physical, but he's just not a good pass catcher. That's why they brought in Kenyon Drake. He's going to be the main pass catching guy for this team, and I think they're going to be down a pretty good amount of the season. So Kenyon Drake is going to get more work than you think. I mean, if you're drafting Josh Jacobs in the second round of your fantasy league, you're doing it wrong. I think he's all right. It's just, again, what you said, the offensive line is just not good enough. And I think it's going to be, I'm almost talking myself off this. I think maybe 5 wins. I think Raiders Nation runs deep, too. They might come through pitchforks, throw a couple bricks through our windows.
Are you changing your win prediction for the Raiders in real time? Am I hearing this correctly?
You should change yours and give maybe Panthers a couple wins there, you bum.
I've got nothing to say to that. I like some of the guys there. The thing is, I like John Gruden as a coach, and it's weird. I like Mike Mayock as a talent evaluator. I think a lot of us watched Mike Mayock growing up on NFL Network and agreed with a lot of what he said.
Maybe that's.
I think there's a little bit of an alpha problem. Just two absolute alphas. If you throw Dan Campbell in the mix, it'd be a trio. I think these guys they do a little head-to-head drill every day, and they're smashing heads trying to get their decision made. And I don't know what's going on there. So I think Mayock might end up being a scapegoat there. And if they don't succeed this year, maybe they let him go.
Well, John Gruden still has this absolutely ridiculous contract. So, again, could be another casualty. I get what you're saying. It could be the scapegoat.
Hard to believe they cut him. I don't know the guaranteed money on that contract. Maybe run a couple more Spider 2Y bananas and they'll be in some solid shape. I don't see the talent, particularly on the defensive end. I could see the offensive guys, potentially Brian Edwards, Ruggs turning around. I just don't think there's enough on the D.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, we'll finish this off. We'll get the coins prediction. All 3 so far for the AFC West are under. And we're going to get another under.
Ghost of Al Davis couldn't make that an over?
Go Saul Davis would redraft Darius Bay.
You didn't flip the coin fast enough. That's why.
Yeah, facts. All right, well, that caps off our AFC and NFC record prediction show. Appreciate all you guys listening and tuning in. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment. I will be giving away a free jersey to one of the lucky commenters. I'm also thinking about doing something similar for Apple Podcasts. Anyways, thanks again for listening. Have a good one.